two candidates are running for District 5. They are incumbent Leonard Hornsby and Nikki Stroba. 3 of the 5 candidates have shown up tonight. The others send their regrets, but we'll begin
All
with,
District 4.
we'll begin with our introductions. We'll start with Mr. Greenhill.
Is it on? Oh, well, hi. First of all, thank you for being here, and thank you for A&M for having this space for us. Since I want votes for Aggies, I'm going to say howdy. And if you're an Aggie, you know what that means, because that's their tradition. I'm Bill Greenhill. I am a member of the Board of Trustees of Tarrant County College. I am running for my 3rd term on the college board. I was elected in 2011 and have served for the last 10 years. I'm an attorney here in Fort Worth with the firm of Haynes & Boone. I'm a corporate attorney. I have 3 children, Duke, Frank, and Joe, all of whom went to Arlington Heights High School and had a good time. Yes, the bees. Anyway, I'm running, excuse me? Yellow Jackets, I'm sorry, you're right, absolutely. I've got 10 seconds to go, but I'm very compassionate about being a trustee of Tarrant County College and helping students get better. Thank you. Laura.
Hi, good evening. My name is Laura Pritchett, and it's a pleasure to be here tonight and to see so many friendly and familiar faces. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to this group tonight and give me the opportunity to introduce myself to you. So my family and I have been here in Tarrant County since 2015. We moved to the great state of Texas in 2011. I wasn't born here through no fault of my own, but I did get here as quickly as I could. And I'll also know that Davy Crockett also wasn't born in Texas, so that shouldn't be held against me. We're here now and part of the community. I've been in technology sales for 25 plus years. My husband and I also own a small business here in Tarrant County. And it's an absolute honor and privilege to be able to be potentially representing all of the people in Tarrant County in District 4 as a trustee on Tarrant County College Board of Trustees. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Reynolds?
Good evening. I'd like to first thank Fort Worth Reports for putting on the candidate forum and the invitation. It's good to see everyone here tonight. There are really 3 reasons why I'm running for this board seat. First and foremost, I have a real passion for education. I'll explain more of that in a moment. Secondly, because there are some real issues with this board that I suspect we're going to be getting into throughout this particular part of the forum, so I'll save that for then. And then the last one is because I'm very qualified for this particular role. It's a natural extension. I'm an educator. And that'll become clear as we move through this. My passion for education stems from the fact that I know that education can transform lives. And I know that because it's transformed mine. I graduated with my undergraduate degree at the age of 42. My last job before going off to college was in a cardboard box factory making minimum wage. I worked my way through grad school as a high school math teacher. I have a master's degree in economics and a doctorate degree in educational leadership and policy studies. I've spent more than 3 years at Tarrant County College alone as an economics professor before moving on, and I continue my work in higher education. So my life has been completely and utterly transformed thanks to education, and I want to be sure that those opportunities exist for everybody in Tarrant County and certainly in District 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura, you'll begin this question. The chancellor is the one employee who directly answers to the TCC board. As a trustee, what would you set as your expectations for her?
So as the chancellor leading the college, I think that is very important to show decisive leadership and transparency in everything that you do, making sure that you are following all of the rules of the college, that you are making sure that you are putting the taxpayers and the students first in all decisions that you make. Make sure that you continue to lead with integrity and honesty, and that you show true leadership in everything that you do.
Thank you. Jack?
Okay, I'm up next. The role of the chancellor. So this is a good question. I don't know how many of you know this, but we have a fairly new chancellor. She's been with the college for a while. And that's because the last chancellor was summarily fired for harassing one of the folks that works at Tarrant County College because she was supervising his girlfriend at the time, which was an unethical relationship that was occurring between him and an employee of Tarrant County College. And so we have these roles. This is one of the few things that the board has direct control over, is who our chancellor is. Obviously, leadership plays a role, but at the end of the day, the chancellor, we're the voice of the taxpayers. The chancellor represents our students, represents our education staff, faculty, et cetera, and their role should be to ensure that we have the best people in place. And as you'll find out, I suspect here shortly, that is not necessarily the case at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
Yes, I have, I've served under 3 chancellors, and despite the conversation we just had, Eva LeBlanc is a marvelous, marvelous leader, and we selected her to take the job of chancellor after our former chancellor, really what the issue was, he did not cooperate with an investigation that we had, so we had to he resigned, and we disposed of him for cause. But actually what we really do is every year we evaluate that's our job. We evaluate the chancellor, and we come up with goals. This is what we want to accomplish this year, and we have goals for this year, and she's working on that. One of them is the budget, many others, but what we do, she is accountable to us, and we make sure that she does her best to do the goals that we set for her, and she agrees to. Thank you.
Thank you. Jack, you'll start first with this next question.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the legislators' proposal to overhaul how community colleges are funded?
This is one of those things I have a really big issue with. I don't know if that's mine or somebody else's, but I definitely, I'm opposed to what they're doing. Now, their plan is to tie community college funding to student outcomes. This sounds like a good idea at first blush, but this is the same thing they've done in the K-12. Remember, I worked my way through through grad school as a high school math teacher, so I've been in that system as well, and I watch how this works. The fact of the matter is, what this is going to do is this is going to put pressure on faculty to just push people through. There's now a financial incentive for students to just complete. Not actually learn anything, just complete. They're just going to be pushing them through. This is what's happening in K-12 and has been going on for years, ever since No Child Left Behind. I think they have the best of intentions, but this is not a solution. You cannot pay people to graduate students. You know what happens? Graduation rates climb, actual learning falls precipitously. And we've seen that at every level. Look at the schools in Baltimore. Look at some of our own schools right here at Fort Worth ISD. They were talking about it in the last group. So it's definitely not the way that you want to fund community colleges. I understand the notion, but it's a bad idea. It's a really, really bad idea. Please call your legislators and oppose it. Thank you.
Bill? Do you need the question again?
No, I know what it's called. This is what's called the commission. And it has taken 2 or 3 years for a big group of people to develop this refunding. There are a lot of reasons for it. In particular, the smaller colleges don't have the tax money and so forth. They don't have the tuition, the enrollment to continue the way they're doing. But the commission is made up of a really excellent group of legislators, educators, and other people. And it is a good idea. We're trying to reform the way, the formula for how community colleges are funded. And it's complicated a little bit, but it's being worked on with the legislators at this moment. It's got the big support of the governor, the lieutenant governor, the Speaker of the House, many senators, and we're working on it and we're advocating for it.
Thank you. Laura?
I think it's extremely important for a college to focus on exactly what college is for, is to educate our students. And in particular, at Tarrant County College, it's vitally important that we focus on the job skills, training the students to be equipped for the workforce and to focus on workforce development. I don't think that it is beneficial to the college to implement any sort of social constructs, but they really do need to make sure that they are focusing in on those very critical pieces. There was a recent study that came out that approximately 91% of high school students are not prepared for the workforce. And our job at the college is to be that vital resource, again, to train them, equip them, and get them ready for the workforce. Or if they're going on to a 4-year degree, that we're ensuring that we are educating them properly to prepare them for that advanced schooling. So we need to focus on that and not focus on other things that detract from that. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill, you'll go first on this next question. How would you approach the fiscal management responsibilities of being a trustee?
Physical management, we have workshops and meetings that are public meetings twice a month. And we have a COO, Susan Alanese, who is an excellent COO. We examine very carefully things that come up on our agenda. We are, for example, the fiscal responsibility for our bond issue, which is very large as well. We have updates on that every month. If you go to our website, you talk about visibility. It is totally visible. It's got every detail you can possibly want about our bond issue, how your money is being spent, and the fiscal responsibility that we are conducting. It is we review it, the physical status of our community college twice a month, and that's how we do it.
Thank you. Laura? I certainly will. How would you approach the fiscal management responsibilities of being a trustee?
Could you provide some more context around that question?
How would you manage the budget? How would you, that kind of thing?
Okay, thank you. So it's, managing a budget is not a science. It's not an art. It's a combination of the two, making sure that you understand what that budget is, making sure that you understand why the budget is being asked, why the different line items are being asked, and making sure that it is aligning with the actual needs of the expenditures of the college. In my purview of, in my review of the budget, it currently looks like there's a very high percentage of the budget that goes towards administration. And I think that needs to be curtailed, and that needs to go more towards the spending towards the education of the students, which is the purpose of the college. So focusing on those critical pieces, not focusing on an overinflated administration that the budget currently appears to be operating under.
Thank you. Jack?
So it's interesting that Mr. Greenhill talked about these public sessions where people can come and talk, because you can find these online, and these videos, and so you can go watch for yourself. The day they were voting on whether or not to maintain the current tax rate with inflated home appraisal values, that meant they got more revenue. There were a number of people who showed up from the community pleading with them to not do this. We're in the middle of an inflation crisis. I'm an economist. Trust me on it, this isn't good. This inflation is very real. All right, it's currently 3 times what it used to be, or what it's supposed to be. All right, so, multiple people came and pleaded with them to not do this. Trustee Barr spoke up and said that he was ashamed of people who weren't willing to give up another nickel or a dime to educate these people. And not a single person on that board spoke up, least of all Mr. Greenhill, and they all voted to perpetuate the exact same tax rate that brought in more revenue for them. Folks, tax revenue in this district for this college has gone up more than 100% in the last decade. That's at a time when student enrollments are falling, student contact hours are falling, and they know this. What are they doing with all this money? I have some ideas. Stick around if they don't ask, and I'll tell you all about it.
Thank you. Laura, you'll go first on this next question. Work on a voter-approved $825 million bond continues. As a trustee, how would you ensure TCC delivers what it promised to voters in 2019?
That's a very important question. As I understand it, that currently the bond that was approved, the $825 million, is currently under budget. And that is a question that needs to be raised with the trustees and why it is currently under budget and what they're going to do about that, how they're going to address that. Are they going to have a rescoping of the construction services? Are they going to go to the taxpayer and ask for more money in addition to that? Or how are they going to address the approaching $1 billion of our money that is not being properly handled and not being properly managed with the construction services? So that is an excellent question that I would be asking as a trustee and making sure that there is accountability with that bond and that every dollar that was entrusted to the board and to the college is being used properly.
Thank you. Jack, you're next.
This is a great question because I was there at the time that this board went through. I was an economics professor at the Northwest campus, and there was a lot of debate. They were planning on eliminating all the faculty offices and going to open workspace, which is a huge problem because there are federal laws that protect the privacy in the meetings that we have with our students. This is not a minor trivial thing. And so I was asked by some of my colleagues to serve on something called the Workspace Environments Committee to be sure that their concerns were heard. I get to that committee, it's made up of people from all over from all the different campuses, and it turns out they all had the exact same concerns that the folks at my campus had. So we put together, the task of the Workspace Environments Committee was to put together a faculty recommendation regarding the suggestions from the board and from the chancellor about this open workspace. And we provided extensive literature showing that open workspace is a bad, ineffective way to accomplish the goals that they were talking about, and that that the faculty pleaded with them to keep our offices. That document, our faculty recommendation, was returned to us heavily redacted by one of the presidents of one of the campuses, the Connect campus. We were not allowed to submit our own recommendation that said we wanted to keep our offices. They tried to do everything they can to prevent that from happening.
Thank you. Bill?
Well, what's the question again?
Work on a voter-approved $825 million bond continues. As a trustee, how would you ensure TCC delivers what it promised to voters in 2019?
As I said before, one of the ways we're doing this is visibility. Contrary to the comments, if you look on our webpage, you will see every detail that there is about the bond issue. Now, in regard to inflation and so forth and so on, we're examining that. This is an issue that we are going to be looking at very carefully in our next budget, which started last meeting. Our budget, we're starting very, very early to take a very extensive look at expenditures, taxes, and the bond issue, because I know this is an issue, and we're going to be very responsible about how this is done. We do have, Susan Alanese is an excellent COO. We have developed different buckets in our budget, in our funds, we have reserve funds to take care of some of these issues. But I can assure you that this bond issue will be very, very successful.
Thank you. We will go with one final question before closing statements. And Jack, you will begin this one. Governor Abbott and other state leaders want public colleges and universities to remove diversity, equity, and inclusion from hiring practices. What kind of impact do you think this would have on TCC?
I think it will have a very positive impact on TCC, to be frank. I'm not someone who's a big fan of diversity, equity, and inclusion. To be honest, one of the reasons why I ultimately resigned from the institution is precisely because of a plan they were putting forward. And you can find the video. He's right. All the evidence is right there in plain sight. It's right in front of us. We just got to go find it and dig through it, and you'll find out some of the things going on. And so they put together this plan, this recruit and retain more non-white faculty. And so as I learned more about this, this had come to a head. This was not the first time this came up. We were told quite explicitly in August of 2018. The dean walked over to our meeting, the three of us. There had been a fourth, but she had retired over the summer. And we're sitting in our meeting, and she pointed to us and said, "Y'all need to hire another economist. You're not diverse enough." And I rather stupidly and naively asked, "Are you saying we can't hire another white person?" And she said, basically, yeah. Now, they know this because I filed a grievance about it, and I reported it directly to this board. They literally never spoke about this. It never came up. They just summarily dismissed it. There's no due process rights happening here. They don't even bother to have a conversation about it. It never came up in any way, shape, form, or fashion. That's what this board is. I'm not the one who's saying we need to get rid of this board. Ask the lawyer who's representing, I think her name is Catherine Bennett. She's the one that the chancellor was harassing. Ask him.
Thank you. Bill?
It is true that diversity and inclusion, we do have a policy on it, and we're going to follow the law, whatever it comes out to be. It is not being, at this time, we've not hired an administrator to take care of this DEI thing. But I'd like to respond to Mr. Reynolds. Yes, he resigned, got a new job, then he didn't get the job back.
Bill, we don't do rebuttals tonight, okay?
Oh, we
Stick-
don't do rebuttals?
No, stick
Well,
to the
you know, he
questions,
made
please.
a false statement,
That's
and I
okay,
was
let it go.
I was just trying to correct that statement. But DEI, we're going to follow the law, whatever it is.
Thank you. We already have the law.
Thank you. Laura?
Thank you. I think that is very important to have the standards in place that the best faculty, the best teacher, the best staff, the best candidate is who is hired and retained, not based on appearance, not based on a number that you're trying to fulfill. And the opposite of that, if you have artificially induced numbers for staff, does that mean that that next person who is duly qualified does not get to have that job when they are indeed the best person for that based on their ability to do the job and based on on what they can do and what they can bring to the college? So I am very much in favor of merit-based hiring, because that is when we can get the best and the brightest, and that is how we can focus on the job skills for our students and the workforce development, as I stated in one of my opening statements, and making sure that we are focusing on getting these students educated properly, not focused on a number. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll go with closing statements, and Bill, you can start.
Thank you. I have been a trustee for 10 years, and I'm very proud of the work that I have done. We have really progressed in the services that we're giving to our students, both old and young. We have many opportunities for our students to succeed. We meet students where they are, and I would like to continue my tenure as a trustee of this college. I'm also an advocate for community colleges. I was the chair of the Community College Association of Texas Trustees, which advocates for community colleges statewide. I know professors, I know presidents and chancellors all over the state, and I'm an advocate for community colleges statewide and advocate for our own community college.
Thank you. Laura?
So I'd like to thank Mr. Greenhill for the time that he has spent as a trustee on this board, and I think that it's time to get some new faces on that board as a trustee. I'm the only one that, sitting at this table, who has the professional experience and the wherewithal to be able to do the job that is required as the trustee, as a duly elected trustee for District 4. There are some things that clearly need to be addressed with the culture at the college, with the finances at the college, with the budgeting, and Again, I am the person that is the most qualified to be able to do that, and to continue to listen to the voters, to listen to the taxpayers, to listen to the students, to listen to the community, and making sure that we are getting these kids on the right path with those job skills and the workforce development. And I thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to all of you tonight. It has been an absolute pleasure and an honor, and I thank you very much, and have a blessed night.
Thank you. Jack?
I certainly want to thank everybody for coming and listening to us tonight. Thank Fort Worth Report again for holding this candidate forum. I think, unfortunately, these kinds of formats don't necessarily lend themselves well to a full fleshing out of these issues. But there's one thing that hasn't come up that I think it's important that it does. I'm an economist, and it's hard for me to not think of this in terms of economics. But, folks, this is not sustainable. In a very real mathematical way, this is not sustainable. All taxpayer-funded organizations they have an incentive to maximize cost, because if they have any money at the end of the fiscal year, then they get less of a budget the following year. Every single year they go through it. Sitting at a meeting, hand to God, August 2019, the dean steps up to the microphone and says, "Chairs, be sure you do not leave any money left in your bank accounts." They don't even try to hide it. This is not sustainable. In a very real and meaningful way, you cannot keep asking. They have a thirst that cannot be quenched. It will never be quenched. You can never give them enough money, because they'll always be needing more, no matter what. So this is not sustainable. Something, somewhere, somebody has to step up and start making those changes. It has to happen. And my qualifications are vastly above and beyond anybody else that's running for this job. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
I'm excellent.
I want to thank all three candidates for being here with us tonight. If you've never served as a public official, it's not an easy job. It's thankless at times. So let's give them all a round of applause.